what really happened in America's past. We break it down one story at a time. Welcome to USA History Lane.
Desmond Doss, the soldier who went to war without a weapon. Do you know the true story of an American soldier who went to war without carrying a weapon? In a time when courage was measured by how hard you could fight, how many enemies you could kill, and how fearlessly you could charge into gunfire. One man stood completely different from everyone around him. He didn't carry a rifle. He didn't fire a single bullet. And he refused to take another human life, no matter the cost. Because of that decision, he was mocked by his fellow soldiers. He was bullied, beaten, and humiliated. He was threatened by officers. He was called a coward to his face. And yet, by the end of the war, this same man would save 75 lives on one of the bloodiest battlefields of World War II without firing a single shot. This is the true story of Desmond Thomas Doss. Desmond Doss was born on February 7, 1919 in Lynchburg, Virginia. His family was poor. Life was hard, and like many American families in the early 20th century, survival required discipline, faith, and endurance. Desmond was raised in a deeply religious household. His mother, Bertha Doss, was a devout Seventh-day Adventist who taught her children the Bible from a very young age. One commandment, in particular, stood out and shaped Desmond's entire life. Thou shalt not kill. To Desmond, this was not symbolic. It was not flexible. It was not something to be interpreted differently under pressure. It was absolute. As a young boy, Desmond once saw a painting of the 10 Commandments in his home. Under the commandment, "Thou shalt not kill," he imagined blood dripping from the words. That image stayed with him for the rest of his life. From that moment on, he made a quiet but firm decision. He would never take a human life. As Desmond grew older, the world around him grew darker. In the late 1930s and early 1940s, war engulfed Europe and Asia. Nazi Germany marched across nations. Imperial Japan expanded aggressively across the Pacific. Eventually, the United States was pulled into the conflict after the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. Millions of young American men were drafted into military service. Some resisted, some fled. Some tried to avoid the call. Desmond Doss did not. When his draft notice arrived, Desmond did not hesitate. He did not claim exemption. He did not protest the war. He believed it was his duty to serve his country. But he made one request, a request that would set him apart from every other soldier around him. He would serve. He would go to war, but he would not carry a weapon. Desmond enlisted in the U.S. Army as a conscientious objector, not because he was afraid to fight, but because he believed killing was morally wrong. Instead of becoming an infantryman, he chose to serve as a combat medic. From the very beginning of basic training, Desmond's life became miserable. Other soldiers couldn't understand him. In their eyes, war without a weapon was suicide. Refusing to carry a gun was weakness, and weakness on the battlefield got men killed. They mocked him relentlessly. They insulted his faith. They threw boots at him while he prayed. They beat him in his sleep. They accused him of endangering their lives. Some soldiers said they would never trust him in combat. Others openly said they hoped he would be killed. Officers weren't any kinder. Desmond was repeatedly threatened with court-martial. Commanders accused him of insubordination and refusal to follow orders. They tried to force him to pick up a rifle. They tried to break him psychologically. But Desmond never yelled back. He never fought them. He never retaliated. He simply stood firm. He told his commanders the same thing every time. I am willing to go anywhere my country needs me. I will do anything to save lives, but I cannot take one. Eventually, after legal reviews and intense pressure, the Army allowed Desmond to remain. He would deploy with his unit. He would face the same dangers as everyone else, but without a weapon. In 1945, Desmond Doss and the 77th Infantry Division were sent to Okinawa, Japan. Okinawa was not just another battle. It was one of the bloodiest and most brutal confrontations of World War II. The Japanese forces were deeply entrenched. They used caves, tunnels, and hidden artillery. They fought with relentless determination, knowing there would be no retreat. American forces suffered massive casualties. The terrain was unforgiving. Rain turned the ground into mud. The air was thick with smoke, fear, and death. Artillery thundered day and night, and towering above it all was a massive cliff, nearly 400 feet high. The soldiers called it Hacksaw Ridge, To reach the battlefield above, American troops had to climb the cliff using cargo nets, completely exposed to enemy fire. Once at the top, there was no cover, no safety, only chaos. It was here, on Hacksaw Ridge, that Desmond Doss would face the ultimate test of his convictions. As American soldiers climbed the ridge, they were met with devastating gunfire. Machine guns mowed men down before they could even reach the top. Explosions ripped through entire squads. Men screamed for medics. Men bled out in the dirt. Men were trapped and unable to move. At one point, the situation became so dire that U.S. forces were ordered to retreat. The battlefield fell eerily silent. But Desmond Doss did not retreat. While the rest of the unit pulled back, Desmond stayed behind, alone, unarmed, surrounded by wounded soldiers and enemy forces still lurking nearby. What happened next would become legendary. Desmond began moving across the battlefield, crawling from one wounded soldier to another. He worked silently, carefully, knowing that any sound could expose him. He lifted men twice his size. He dragged them through mud and debris. He treated wounds under fire. One by one, he pulled injured soldiers to the edge of the cliff. Using a rope, he tied each man and lowered them down the face of Hacksaw Ridge, hundreds of feet to safety below. After every rescue, Desmond whispered the same prayer. "Lord, help me get one more." Not once, not twice, but again and again, bullets flew past him. Explosions shook the ground. Night fell, making the terrain even more dangerous. His hands bled from gripping the rope. His body was exhausted. His strength should have been gone, but he kept going. "Lord, help me get one more." By the time the fighting ended, Desmond Doss had saved 75 men, 75 lives. Men who once mocked him, men who once threatened him, men who once called him a coward, now alive because of him. Later in the battle, Desmond himself was wounded. Shrapnel tore into his leg. A sniper's bullet shattered his arm. Even then, he refused immediate evacuation. Instead, he treated other wounded soldiers first. At one point, while being carried on a stretcher, Desmond saw another soldier in worse condition and ordered the medics to treat that man instead. Only after everyone else was safe did he allow himself to be carried off the battlefield. The same battlefield where he had once been ridiculed. In 1945, Desmond Doss was awarded the Medal of Honor, the highest military decoration in the United States. He was the first conscientious objector in American history to receive it. President Harry S. Truman personally presented the medal and reportedly told him, "I'm proud of you." Desmond Doss never considered himself a hero. He said he was just doing what he believed was right. His story proved something powerful to the world. That courage does not always look like violence. That strength can exist without hatred. And that standing by your convictions, even when everyone stands against you, can change lives. So the question history leaves us with is this: what does real courage actually look like?